Hi, everybody, and we are back with our second panel of the day here at the 8th Annual Panagora Pharma Customer Experience Summit. And today we are going to be talking about the HCP experience and EHR. And we are joined by Eileen Nolan from Novo Nordisk. So, oh, good. She's got her camera and her mic on. And we're also going to call up to the stage Stephanie Garrison, who you may remember from such panels as HCP Experience just a minute ago. There she is. We normally don't call people right out of the audience to come up on the panel, but she was so vocal and so enthusiastic about EHR that we wanted her to share her thoughts with us as well. So special guest star, and that is bonus content for all of you HCP experience fans that are out there. So let us take a minute to introduce ourselves. Eileen, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hi, everybody, and thanks for coming to the session. My name's Eileen Nolan. I work for Novo Nordisk in the Omnichannel Marketing Group. And for the last 5 years, I've been working on EHR strategy and execution on behalf of our brands and our enterprise. And I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you today to express my own views, not the views of Novo Nordisk. And everything that I talk about today includes work that has been done with our legal, our privacy, our regulatory, our medical, our brand, and every rule maker there is at Novo Nordisk to make sure that we're in compliance. So just want to put that out there.
And Stephanie, for those that have just joined us, who are you?
I am Steph Garrison, and I am the head of digital marketing for Idorsia US. I was just on the HCP the session right before this and expressed my love for EHR. So thank you both to Steph and Eileen for allowing me to join this session.
Well, it's, Steph,
I'm sorry. I forgot my disclaimer.
Hit it. Let's hear it.
My views and opinions are my own and not of my employer, Idorsia Pharmaceuticals.
Gotcha. So when investigating this panel and trying to get folks together, it was actually somewhat of a challenge to find individuals that were focused on EHR PoC. A lot of people did a lot of things, wore a lot of hats, but individuals that focused on that exclusively. So I think that told me that it is an area that people want to know about, want to learn about, that's always changing, and maybe that we don't shine enough light on. So I'm glad to have you guys here and glad to have you part of the conversation. So just to get started, what is the role of EHR PoC in the overall HCP experience, Eileen?
It's a big question. Great question. Everything we do in EHR is really grounded in enabling a very positive HCP engagement with our brands. We work very, very closely with partners such as Dr. First, Practice Fusion, Connective RX, and Point of Care partners. And they have been the most incredible, insightful, motivated partners I could ever ask for. So much of my EHR learning has come from the breadth of knowledge and experience that they also offer incredible intelligence on what is a best practice in marketing. So everything we have ever executed on the EHR front has not only been reviewed by our PRB and medical, legal, regulatory team, but it's also been reviewed by our partners teams. They also come with a medical reviewer and their own board who reviews the campaigns that we want to execute to make sure that what we're putting on these EHR platforms is going to add value to the doctor experience. So we know that doctors are not going to leave the workflow to click through to a website. So everything we do in EHR marketing, we want to include an attached PDF so that the doctor can click through the banner and quickly acquire the information that might be needed to make a decision. So we can't rely on a website experience. We need to deliver content directly to the doctor, and it's got to be impactful. It's got to be quick hitting and impactful because we don't have a lot of time. We honor the doctor's focus at the moment, which is on the patient and which is on the workflow within the EHR. We don't want to distract him. And we want to give information that is beneficial to him and the patient that he's treating. So typically our EHR campaigns are extremely targeted. We're able to target to the doctor specialty, to the patient diagnosis code, to patient medications, to formulary information, to competitor med history. Now, this is not possible universally across all of our partners, but when you look at all of our partners, we're able to typically accommodate those targeting criteria. So everything we do is intended to add value to the doctor at the moment he's treating a patient. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. We're going to talk about a little bit more of the details, and you mentioned some of the guardrails that are in place with your organization. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. I could have swore I heard you say that you rely on your vendor partners and you appreciate their knowledge and expertise.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We have had such an incredible insight and intelligence gleaned from our vendor partners over the years. They've become very, very familiar with our brands and the strategic imperatives of our brands, our brand directors and the questions that come from brand directors, and they bring the knowledge of the industry. So they can share with us what has worked in other categories, or if we see a campaign is trailing for whatever reason, why might that be? You know, is there something off here? And we have benefited so greatly from their knowledge and their expertise and their ability to help us optimize and to plan for our most efficient spend of our budgets.
Well, as a fellow vendor, you don't hear that every day, so it certainly warms my cockles to hear that. Stephanie, you were evangelizing the EHR platform in our last panel. Go on.
So I do see Melinda on the phone. She and I worked together, Melinda a long time ago when I was at Pfizer. I will tell you that, so right now my role is digital marketing, right? Head of digital marketing for Idorsia. But in the past, I've been more heavily on the HCP side. We just got our HCP lead for Idorsia a couple of weeks ago, so I'm super excited to let him take what we've started and run and put his fingerprints all over it. But for me, even back from when I was at Pfizer, years ago, was, what Eileen was saying, getting into the workflow with the HCP, they're there, they're looking, they're looking for, to diagnose / prescribe. So getting into that flow in a non-intrusive way, but enough to get yourself noticed. And I think to Eileen's point, having a banner and going out to website, no. And the EHR platforms that I've worked with, RxNT, especially Optimize Rx, recently have been very good about, we have capability on our platforms to have 1 to 3 pieces that are on the platform. HCP clicks on the banner, they go to your stuff. They're not spun out of the platform because that, as Eileen very articulately said, that's way too distracting for the HCP. We want to keep them where they are, keep them focused, but also engage them.
Okay, so we are talking a little bit about, being careful about how to engage them, where to engage them, and that type of stuff. Last panel, we talked a little bit about the line and are we going to cross the line? And So how do you, like, what type of structure do you have in place, Eileen, to make sure that you don't cross the line, whether that be from you know, a personal preference point of view or from a compliance point of view? What type of guardrails are in place?
We have a gazillion compliant guardrails in place.
Surprised you get anything done, right?
I know. Of course, everything we do is, you know, it goes through a PRB review. If it's a new initiative, we put it through a legal review. We are always to include a link to our PI, our prescribing information. We also have our scrolling ISI on almost all of our campaigns. We oftentimes work within character limited static banners, and any PDF that we attach includes our important safety information, you know, in the right format. And we, let's see, we also, when necessary, we will bake in Sunshine Act reporting compliance with data capture. Or the other important thing is we never capture individual physician information. So any EHR campaign is vetted for HIPAA privacy in terms of the data that's being used and how we interact potentially with patients, as well as PII. So we only look at aggregate results with our vendor partners. We never look at individual HCP information or behavior in our reporting. And I think that's all of them.
Well, it sounds like you said there was a zillion, so that's some good highlights.
Well, then there's compliance issues on the vendor side, the partner vendor side as well. So they have their own review boards, as I mentioned earlier, and oftentimes we'll get some feedback, you know, that we incorporate from our vendor partner boards.
So Stephanie, talk about the line. I mean, a lot of what Eileen said is probably pretty standard protocol from the situations that you're in or have been in. Anything to add to that, or anything to add about the so-called line?
So I would just go back to something that Eileen just said, and about analytics and reporting, which is you know, oftentimes my bread and butter. With EHR partners that I would send a list to, and they would target match and target my HCP, or quote my HCPs. We've gotten aggregate data back, you know, engagement, but also RX behavior on us and on competitors. This is my last company. But I'm hearing a lot now that through several of the EHR platforms that whether it's with target list, I will be able to get much more HCP level data back. And then also I'm looking at, can I get HCP level data back from my HCPs that are not on my target list? And that to me is, and OptimizeRx is researching that for me, but that for me coming into this space, launching, being able to know as a marketer, hey, we're all in it, right? To get as much information about HCPs that are engaging with my banners and my materials on EHR is going to be really important to me.
Just put everybody on your target list, and then you'll get data on everybody.
Well, Seth, I know, but PCPs is one of my specialties.
Eileen?
We don't do target list targeting. We see, you know, most of our target list HCPs are using Epic or Cerner. They're with the larger health systems. And so, and Epic and Cerner typically don't allow for, you know, much EHR marketing on their platform. We do have some copay programs in Epic and Cerner systems. But we do not do target list marketing because we have seen white space doctors, the non-target list doctors, are really, really eager to eat up this information because they're not being seen by a rep. Yep. And their engagement level is incredible. So we have never done target list, and they're also, the target list doctors are, you know, on every other third party, you know, channel target list. So I feel great about the fact that we have a little bit wider of a reach in EHR by not doing target list marketing, but rather honing in on the specialty, the patient data, the, the competitor med history, et cetera, to really reach the appropriate doctor. And we can't cherry pick. Oftentimes I can't say to a vendor, I only want you to reach these doctors. I think I only have one vendor that can do target list marketing.
Okay.
Working with, an aggregator, they're reaching out to the entire network. So I can't cherry pick the doctors that I want to market to. And I would never, honestly. We get such great results from white space doctors. It's incredible.
Yeah, I would imagine too. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I'm sorry. Eileen, I think what my perspective on that would be is that in EHR, you don't just pick one vendor and you're done. In my last company, we had 3 different EHR partners that we worked with.
Right.
Some did target matches, some did not. And you're right about, some of the larger, the EHR space in general. And I think why a lot of people are, in my mind, like mystified by it and confused by it is that it's so fragmented. And you can target, you cannot target, how many HCPs do they have? What kind of data can you get back? And to me, it's really going with your gut and your business objectives and finding the right EHR mix that works for you and what you want to accomplish.
Right. So we take like a truly omnichannel approach, right, to looking at how can we best support our strategic imperatives for this brand across our different partners through their ability to target.
Gotcha. We did have a question come up about using EMR data to help potentially identify new or high-risk patients, but I think that's more on the data side. And here we're talking about how EHR is being used in the HCP experience. So that's a totally different question.
I can talk.
Here's a tough one, though, I want to ask, because...
If you want me to answer that, I can answer that question.
Okay.
Do you want me to answer that?
No, you may. Yeah.
So EHRs are built with reporting functionality. It's oftentimes something that doctors don't understand. It can be a little bit complex, but we have empowered our field force with illustrative step-by-step instructions on how to identify patient populations at risk.
Cool.
And that has been, very successful. We are not Epic experts. We are not Cerner experts. We don't claim to be. The information we provide is illustrative, but it has been very well received.
I gotcha. And that's something that, that I did not know, that you could actually add to the HCP experience by adding that service that your reps can provide to be able to identify that kind of stuff. That's fantastic.
And it may be of interest to somebody in a safety or a quality or, somebody who's doing quality reporting to CMS. It may be of interest to, staff outside of the HCPs. Okay,
so here is the tough question. We have about 5 more minutes left. And Stephanie?
Yes.
EHR. Is this a media play?
Well, technically, my media agency or the media folks on the agency side do handle it for me. So, I mean, I would ask it back, like, is it media or is it digital? I think it's both.
Mm-hmm. But it's just display ads on another channel that doctors use, right? So it's media.
So it's media, but then I think when you look at some of the components of EHR, and especially at point of care, with the HCP, you can have platforms that send and text and email, patient materials, access materials, paperwork they need to fill out, patient brochures, hub access information. So that, to me, that starts going beyond media.
Well, I'm intentionally being provocative here because it is, it is a topic that people feel very strongly about on each side of the ball. Eileen, is it media?
I don't think so. I think that we are so far beyond impressions in EHR, and we have such a greater opportunity to deliver a really impactful value add to the doctor at the point of care that is also measured differently. Measurement in my world, in the EHR world, goes well beyond click. We're measuring based on click, download, print, forwarding along to another HCP,
Right.
or we look oftentimes with one of our partners, ConnectiveRx, at a test and control lift analysis. So we have very good information coming from them, as to getting closer to how did this campaign impact behavior, script writing behavior. And I just find that we have had such incredible success working closely with our EHR partner vendors in developing new campaigns that really align with our brand imperatives, that to put another party in the middle of that innovation would not allow us to do it, quite honestly. I think, we have learned so much working in partnership directly with our partner vendors that I couldn't imagine putting a media person in the middle of the innovative work that we've been able to execute.
No, that's great to hear, because I think it, personally, I think it is something that exceeds, a media placement, and all of the things that you've described certainly talk to the depth and breadth of the channel that you guys have developed, at least at Novo. So,
if we were doing the same thing, if we were just doing display banner advertising in an EHR, then yeah, I would feel perfectly comfortable working with a media agency, but we're not.
So Stephanie, what's your definition of success? How do you measure success with EHR?
RX lift and engagement. Yep. RX lift.
Just not clicks, not impressions. Come on.
When we get more into the patient point of care like that and doing those kind of campaigns, absolutely. And, going over to getting patients to the hubs. But right now I look at, and I'm most interested on RX lift.
Gotcha. So thank you both. That's our time for the EHR panel. I'm certain that we have managed to enlighten a lot of our audience about the mysteries of EHR and the HCP experience. And I thank you for joining